watching Newsline World. I'm Sarah Santos, bringing you the top stories we have gathered from all over the globe. Former President Donald Trump wins big in Iowa caucuses. Israel's cabinet approves an additional $15 billion for its budget amid its war against Hamas. North Korea abandons its reunification efforts with South Korea. And the Philippines will enhance its national cybersecurity by launching stricter operational security. These and more for tonight's edition of Newsline World. And for our first news, the Israeli government has added billions of dollars of extra spending, which will include funds for defense as the war against Hamas surpassed 100 days since the October 7th attack. Jane Kudnita reports.
The Israeli cabinet approved an amended 2024 state budget, adding 55 billion shekels or $15 billion of extra spending. Reports say this extra spending includes funds for defense and money for those affected by the war with Hamas. It also includes higher allocations for mental health care, police, education, and welfare. More than 3 months after the attacks ensued, the war between Israel and Hamas shows no signs of stopping anytime soon, especially after the recent announcement of Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that they would not cease until total victory, which he said will be achieved if Israel eliminates Hamas, return all hostages, and ensuring that Gaza will never again constitute as a threat to Israel. Early on in the conflict, Israeli military officials foresaw the conflict lasting for many months or even a year. The war has led to the loss of thousands of lives, with the Gaza Health Ministry reporting more than 23,000 people, mostly women and children, dead. As for Israel, normal life has returned for many. However, many shops, restaurants, and establishments remain closed. Reporting, Jane Kudnita, SMNI News.
Meanwhile, Japan has revised its national budget for this year to ensure more funds will be secured for the ongoing earthquake relief and recovery efforts. Ria Saito has the news.
Japanese officials expect that reconstruction and recovery efforts after the New Year earthquake will take longer to achieve for affected communities, which urged the government to expand its national budget for this year. Japan's cabinet on Tuesday approved a revised draft budget worth 112.1 trillion yen for the fiscal period April 2024 to March 2025. The government allotted an additional 500 billion yen in emergency funds to tackle the devastating aftermath of the disaster that struck central Japan. The increased funding will ensure that sufficient funds are being secured for the relief and reconstruction efforts in affected areas. This is the second time that Japan's fiscal budget exceeded 110 trillion yen. The New Year's Day earthquake happened less than a year after Japan marked the 12th anniversary of the most powerful earthquake recorded in the country's history. Japan's earthquake and tsunami disaster in March 2011 killed more than 15,000 people and caused a nuclear disaster that will take decades to clean up. 以上、日本からサイトリアニュースをお伝えしました。SMNI News Japan.
The Alalayang Agila Japan Foundation Group, under the Fraternal Order of the Philippines, or Eagles, Philippine Eagles, distributed relief goods to the victims of a strong earthquake that hit central Japan during the New Year. Shin Matsui has the story.
More than 2 weeks since a deadly 7.6 magnitude earthquake hit the town of Wajima in Ishikawa, Japan, thousands of households still feel the impact of the New Year's Day disaster. As residents struggled to recover from the crisis, members of a Filipino community did not hesitate to step up and offer much-needed assistance.
We've arrived in Wajima City at the heart of the devastation of the powerful earthquake that happened on New Year's Day. There are also hundreds of Filipinos living here. That is why a Filipino organization, the Alalayang Agila Japan Foundation, the Fraternal Order of Eagles, Philippine Eagles, traveled all the way here to extend their help.
Siyempre nakakatakot. Kasi noon, January 1, New Year's Day. So kaming mag-anak, nasa loob lang kami ng bahay. Tapos, nung nung una, mahina lang yung lindol. Tapos, parang okay na kasi palagi namang may ganon, mahina lang. Tapos biglang ang lakas talaga na nakita talaga namin yung bumagsak na yung CR namin. Yung harap ng pintuan namin nagbagsakan na. Tapos, nung tumahan na yung lindol, nag-announce agad na may tsunami nga daw. Tapos yun, tinawag ko, inakyat ko yung dalawang anak ko. Tapos hindi sila makalabas sa pinto. Kaya sabi ko, sinigawan ko na, sa bintana kayo, aakyat, ay doon kayo lalabas. Kaya yun, sa bintana sila lumabas. Tapos lumabas agad kami ng bahay. Umakyat agad kami dito kasi dito nga yung panang mataas na lugar. Kung baga in case na mag-tsunami talaga, at least nandito kami.
Kami naman, tama-tama na mayroon sana kaming ipon-ipon mga anak ko, mga apo ko. Namimili kami ngayon dito sa supermarket. Ngayon, nung lumindol siya, nung una, okay lang. Nung pangalawa, nandun na, talagang kumapit na kami. Para kaming bolang nag-iikot. Umiikot kami ng umiikot. Tapos nun, nakalabas kami ng supermarket. Pagkatapos, hindi na namin alam, hinanap ko na yung mga apo ko kung nasaan na. Nagtakbuhan na, ayun na nga, may raw na tsunami na darating. Kaya dito kami unang tumakbo dito sa Wadi Matsugako. Dito rin kami nagkita-kita ng mga anak ko. Yung mga pinamili ko, tinapon ko ng lahat.
It can be remembered that a 7.6 magnitude earthquake shook the Noto region in Ishikawa Prefecture in the Sea of Japan, wherein the local meteorological agency immediately issued a tsunami warning in some of its coastal areas. The death toll has now reached over 200 in the past 2 weeks. Buildings and roads are still in ruins. The power line remains damaged, causing residents to endure the freezing temperatures. Until now, many people are still seeking refuge in evacuation centers here, including our fellow Filipinos.
We are the Alalayang Agila Japan under the Fraternal Order of Eagles, Philippine Eagles, firstborn Shoso Civic Organization from the Philippines. And we are here today para isagawa namin ang tunay na adhikain ng aming grupo, ang aming pagkakaisa sa pagtulong, of course, through the guiding principle of our organization, service, truth, strong brotherhood. So nagsama-sama po ang lahat ng club dito sa Japan ng Agila para sa ganun ay maisagawa ang pagtulong na to dito sa Ishikawa.
Unang tutulungan natin ay ating kalahi na Pilipino na nakatira dito sa Ishikawa, lalo na dito mismo sa nasalanta mismo na sentro ng lindol. Hindi lang po lahat ng Pilipino kundi mga Hapon na nasama sa pagsalanta ng lindol. Kasi alam naman natin na lahat naman tayo dito, tayong mga Pilipino dito tayo nabuhay, nagtrabaho sa bansang Japan. Babawi po tayo sa pagtulong sa bansang Japan po.
Isa po sa nag-udyok sa atin kung bakit tayo tumutulong sa mga Pilipino. Not only Pilipino yung mga naapektuhan ng tsunami, ng lindol sa Ishikawa. Karamihan po sa mga nandun, nasa more than 15,000 na mga SSW and trainee yung affected, which is kami po, ang business po namin dito is to support ng mga SSW.
On Saturday, the group started preparing relief goods such as winter clothes, blankets, water, toiletries, and foods that consist of cup noodles and bread, among other things. Because of the slippery road covered with snow, the group traveled for more than 9 hours from Nagoya to the town of Wajima to deliver the much-needed relief goods to the affected areas.
元旦から地震に見舞われて大変な状況だと思いますが、本当に穏やかに正月を過ごし見えて、地震によって本当に大変な状況だと思いますが、なんとか皆さん乗り切って頑張って一日も早く前の生活を取り戻すように、頑張ってください。岐阜から応援してます。
Ang mga pamimigay po natin ngayong araw na ito may mga pagkain po. Meron din tayong mga damit, mga kapal na damit, kumot na kailangan ng mga kapwa natin dito dahil sobrang lamig. Mamimigay din po tayo ng mga toiletries, mga tissues, mga cotton buds na gamit po sa personal use po nila, na kailangan po nila.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Fumio Kishida also traveled to the city of Wajima to offer words of encouragement to the victims and promised to support them.
本当に大変な状況の中で、皆さん本当に苦労されていると思いますが、政府も全力でしっかり支えますので、皆さんそれぞれ頑張ってください。本当ね、遠い国で本当に苦労されていると思いますが、心も遠いかもしれませんが、みんなで応援しますから、ぜひ、元気で頑張ってください。本当にどうもご苦労様です。どうもありがとうございます。よろしくお願いします。
In the end, the chairman of the group called on all the Filipino community here in Japan to unite and work together in helping our fellow man.
Naayayahan po natin ang ating pang mga kababayan, ang mga kapatid namin sa organisasyon. Magtulong-tulong po tayo. Hindi lang po ito yung una at pangalawang pagseserbisyo natin dito tulad po ng ating nalaman. May mga kapatid po talaga tayong Pilipino na nasunugan ng bahay. At yan po yung pangalawang mission natin na yung matulungan natin yung ating mga kababayan na nasunugan na nagnanais lumipat sa ibang lugar at para makapag-umpisa ulit ng kanilang pamumuhay. May mga nangangailangan po tulad po ng sinabi ng ating edita, may mga nangangailangan po ng refrigerator, lutuan, mga kagamitang pangbahay para po makapag-umpisa ulit ng panibagong buhay. So sana lahat ng Pilipino, every organization, Filipino organization, tulong-tulong po tayo, tulong-tulong po kayo kahit na kayo kung kilala nyo po, kung may mga kailala kayo dito na nais nyo pong pwede nyo pong tulungan. Tulungan po natin sila.
The group also thanked Estemanay and Pastor Apollo C. Kibiloy of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ for their time in covering the situation in Wajima with an aim to spread awareness of the ongoing plight and struggles of the victims in affected areas.
Maraming salamat po sa SMNI, lalo-lalo na po kay Pastor Kibiloy. Maraming salamat po sa pagsama sa amin, sa pagbisita at pagdalaw dito.
For God and my beloved country, Shun Matsui, SMNI News, Japan.
According to an economist, the Philippines has great potential to become the top educational hub if constitutional changes are implemented correctly. MJ Mondihar for the report.
The discussion on the charter change or CHACHA has been lively again this new year, 2024. The debate resurfaced following the controversial People's Initiative in various parts of the Philippines aiming to amend the 1987 Constitution. It even involved allegations of bribery to gather signatures for CHACHA to proceed. However, the Senate and the lower house recently reached an agreement over the matter. On Monday, Senate President Mig Zubiri filed resolution of both houses number 6 to ease economic restrictions in the Constitution. The Congress aims to amend Section 11, Article 7 of the Constitution to relax the 60-40 ownership arrangement for businesses in the country. Currently, it is required that 60% of a business in the Philippines must be owned by a Filipino. Restrictions for the advertising industry will also be eased. This sector currently requires 70% Filipino ownership. On the other hand, educational institutions are also part of the proposed relaxation. The ownership arrangement for schools in the country is currently at 60-40. An economist explains that it is good to loosen restrictions for foreigners to fully own schools.
Kasi marami sa ating mga kababayan kagaya na gusto mang ibang bansa para mag-aral. No? At kung marerelax yung restriction sa foreign ownership, lalo-lalo na sa education sector, maganda siguro kung may mga universities sa ibang bansa na nag-ooperate din sa ating bansa.
Bato said that this is what major countries have also done. For example, Dubai allowed renowned universities from London, America, and China to operate within its borders. China also followed suit by permitting Western universities to establish a presence. With these restrictions eased, the Philippines has the potential to become the top educational hub worldwide.
So imagine mo kung merong ganyan sa Pilipinas, kung merong Harvard na campus sa Pilipinas, kung merong Stanford na campus sa Pilipinas, merong Peking University na nag-ooperate sa ating bansa. London School of Economics na merong branch sa Manila. So hindi mo na kailangan pang pumunta ng UK, hindi mo na kailangan pumunta ng China para mag-aral.
If the Economic Chacha initiative succeeds, Congress may now pass laws allowing foreign investors to become full owners.
Pag nirelax mo yung restriction, that will allow the entry of a lot of physical capital that will help the economy generate jobs and hopefully good-paying jobs para sa ating mga kababayan.
For Ganamabul of Philippines, MJ Mondihar, SMNI News.
In other news, a branch of Iran's armed forces struck a spy agency owned by Israel in the Iraqi region of Kurdistan. Melchizedek Cadiz has the details.
Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps launched ballistic missiles and drones at the headquarters of Israel's spy agency, Mossad. The group described the Israel agency as the headquarters of spies. According to them, the attack, which took place in Erbil, northern Iraq on Monday night, was a response to the assassination of several IRCG and resistance commanders. Iraqi sources said 10 missiles fell near the U.S. consulate. Iran accused the Israeli agency of operating espionage operations and center where terror attacks against the Islamic Republic and the region were being planned. The governor of Erbil describes the incident as a terror attack that killed 4 people and injured 6 others. Meanwhile, Israel's ally United States, through U.S. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller, strongly condemned Iran's attacks in Erbil and offered condolences to the families of those who were killed in the strike. Iran warned to continue its offensive operations as tensions in the region escalate amid the ongoing conflict in Gaza. Reporting this has been Melchizedek Cadiz, SMNI News, Kuwait.
The Defense Secretary of the United States has now been discharged 2 weeks after being secretively hospitalized. Let's get to know the updates from this report. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin was able to return home from hospital on Monday. This follows post-operative complications Austin started to experience earlier this month. He was readmitted to hospital in intensive care on New Year's Day after undergoing prostatectomy, a major surgery to treat prostate cancer in December 22nd last year. However, the 70-year-old Defense Secretary failed to notify the White House nor the public of his diagnosis, and a memorandum was issued last week which prompted the Pentagon Inspector General to investigate Austin's hospitalization due to unavailability of senior leadership. For 3 days, the White House was without a Secretary of Defense. Deputy Secretary of Defense Kathleen Hicks was on vacation in the Caribbean by the time she was informed to fill in for Austin. It can be noted that he was still in hospital when both the United States and the United Kingdom launched airstrikes on Houthi targets in Yemen last week. Speaking to reporters last Friday, President Joe Biden said Austin's failure to notify the White House of his diagnosis was a lapse in judgment, but the president said he still has full confidence in the Defense Secretary. At the moment, the Pentagon chief is being advised by doctors to recuperate and continue his duties remotely for the time being before returning to the Pentagon full-time. To note, the Defense Secretary will have full access to required secure communication capabilities. Meanwhile, Austin thanked all the medical staff who looked after him at the Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. Reporting, this has been Sarah Santos, SMNI News. Stay with us, we have more news after the break.
Kung tatanungin, kahit saang aspeto, gusto ko garantisado. Metikuloso akong tao, kaya gusto ko lahat maayos at sigurado. Lahat quality, yung hindi ako makukompromiso, pero sulit ang presyo. Ganyan ang clean fuel, kaya dito, panatag ang loob ko. Utang. Kung gusto mo ng kalidad na gasolina pero sulit ang halaga, mag-Clean Fuel ka.
Kabayan! Oo, ikaw. Alam mo ba na you can win lots of prizes when you bring home a guest in the Philippines? The Department of Tourism brings you the Visita Be My Guest program. Joining is easy. 1. Sign up as a sponsor. You can do this via the official BBMG website. All Filipinos of legal age living in the Philippines or abroad can join. 2. Invite your guests. The more you invite, the more chances of winning. And 3. Travel to the Philippines and upload your proof of travel to complete the registration process and earn e-raffle tickets and the BBMG travel passport and privilege card that you can use to get discounts as you travel around our award-winning destinations in the Philippines. Join now and get a chance to win in any of the 3 raffle dates in 2023. So what are you waiting for? Come home and bring your guests to the Philippines. Sign up, invite friends and family, and travel to the world's leading beach and dive destination and the world's leading country destination for tourism, the Philippines. Visita Be My Guest in the Philippines.
Let's see if he can produce the sort of vault that got him almost a 9.3 execution.
How hard is it to mentally get yourself up for something, the higher heights?
Para sa bayan laban, pakita natin kung gaano katapak ang mga atletang Pilipino.
Philippines, one of the most popular teams, of course. The miracle team took the long route to get to the gold medal, but they're there. Yung panahon na in-introduce sa atin yung basketball, na-inlove yung mga tao, sobra passionate yung tao, mga Pilipino sa basketball.
It's an honor for us to be able to represent the country. It's a different feeling, and only a few Filipinos can proudly say that I've wear that flag on my chest and represented the country in a foreign soil, and I think that in itself is a very beautiful thing.
This team knew that right from day one, it was gold or nothing.
Gintong medalya para sa bayan!
Isipin nyo lang, yung seal ng Pilipinas at yung pangalan nating Pilipinas, and you will never go wrong.
Well done, and keep up bringing glory to the Philippines. You have put once again
in the grand tradition of our athletes, the Philippines, and people will remember us once more as this grand culture with such great capacity, with such great potential that you are now showing the rest of the world.
Being atleta, nasa puso mo na kailangan maging patient ka at andun yung determinasyon mo para makuha ang gintong medalya para sa Pilipinas.
An athlete in the Philippines who is performing extraordinarily well.
Pero Pilipino, ako sa Pinoy, talaga na malaban. It's in the air. Yung mga atleta, kayo po ang inspirasyon ng mga kabataan.
We are here to support our athletes. Sila lang Pilipino na lumalaban. Pusong Pinoy. Go Philippines!
Nararapat ay pagdiwang kabayanihan ng ating mga manlalaro sapagkat tinatunayan nila that we can still be the best in Asia if we put our minds, our heart, and our souls into it.
A rebel group fighting the military in Myanmar claimed to have seized control of a town near the border with India and Bangladesh. More of this report from Manisa de Guzman.
Armed ethnic group Arakan Army announced it took full control of Paletwa in Chin State on Sunday afternoon. The rebel group has claimed control of the key western town after overcoming multiple military outposts. Arakan Army claimed not a single military council camp was left in the entire Paletwa, and it will take over administration and law enforcement in the area. The seizure of Paletwa took place after another rebel group in the Three Brotherhood Alliance, the MNDAA, claimed control of Laokai town in northern Shan State on the border with Shin. The fall of the two towns took place a few days after Myanmar's military agreed to a China-brokered ceasefire with an alliance of armed groups last week. Rebel groups, however, claimed that junta forces breached the ceasefire on Sunday, which started a new wave of fighting and tensions this week. Reporting for Newsline World, Anisa de Guzman, SMNI News.
The Prime Minister of Cambodia started his week-long visit to Europe, where he is set to engage in a series of meetings with foreign dignitaries. Chatmongkon Pizamaygos reports.
Hun Manet left Cambodia on January 13 and arrived in the French capital of Paris on the same day. He was scheduled to attend the annual World Economic Forum in Switzerland on January 16 and 17. He is expected to talk about restoring faith in the global system and focusing on win-win approaches. From Switzerland, he will embark on his first official visit to France and the invitation of President Emmanuel Macron, which will take place on January 18 to 19. Both leaders are expected to discuss issues concerning the environment, energy sector, economy, and defense.
รายงานจากราชบุรี นายชัดมงคล พิสมัยโกศล SMN News ประเทศไทย สวัสดีครับ
Meanwhile, the rise of Crown Princess of Mary as the new Queen of Denmark made the first Queen Consort to be born in Australia. Sheena Salim has the news.
The real-life fairy tale story of a simple advertising executive from Australia who married a prince and recently became the Queen of Denmark attracted global headlines as the world wants to know more about the Australian-born queen who will rule beside Danish King Frederick X. Before she became the Queen of Denmark, Mary Donaldson was born in a simple family on the Australian island of Tasmania on February 5, 1972. She graduated with a degree in law and commerce from the University of Tasmania in Australia. She took a career path in advertising and real estate when she met Denmark's Crown Prince Frederick at a bar in central Sydney during the 2000 Olympic Games. The meeting resulted in a wedding in 2004, and together they have 4 children. According to her family tree, Queen Mary's ancestors lived in a Scottish fishing village in the 1860s, before her grandfather Peter Donaldson moved to Tasmania in 1963. Queen Mary's father, John Donaldson, also took a higher education and became a university professor as their family moved away from the shackles of poverty once witnessed by their ancestors. After becoming a princess when she married then Crown Prince Frederick, her life transformed anew when Queen Margrethe II officially abdicated on January 14, 2024, after 52 years on the Danish throne. Her eldest son was crowned King Frederick X, and his Australian-born wife became Queen Mary of Denmark. It was a moment of national pride as Australians witnessed one of their own rose to the ranks of a queen as the world turned its eyes to the next generation of Danish royals. Reporting from Melbourne, this is Shina Selim, SMNI News, Australia.
The Brazilian state of Rio de Janeiro is still facing difficulties due to the flood left by torrential downpours. Natalia Prado has the news.
At least 12 people have lost their lives. More people have been missing. A dozen more have been injured due to the torrential rains that devastated Rio de Janeiro. The state's governor, Cláudio Castro, expressed solidarity with the families of the victims and stated there is still much to be done. 2,400 fire department's personnel respond to the devastation and use drones, aircraft, sniffer dogs, and rescue specialists, among others. Among the state government's priorities are helping the population through the Recomeçar card, cleaning the streets, and finding resources for essential works in the affected municipalities. The citizens are joining together to help one another. Residents were seen carrying an elderly man on a mattress in the middle of the flood to save him from the flood in his home. Rio de Janeiro has been under a state of emergency since Sunday, and recent local reports say that the volume of the rain normally expected from the whole month of January was received in the certain areas of the capital in just 24 hours. Reportando do Newsline World, eu sou Natália Prado, SMNI News.
The Brazilian Federal Police found 75.5 kilograms of illegal drugs that was supposed to go to Africa. The federal police were called by one of the shipmasters who suspected that there were drugs hidden in the hull of the ship in Paranagua. During an inspection dive, a suspicious volume was identified in the sea tank of a ship that was leaving Paranagua Bay for Africa. The sea tank is a fully submerged compartment located in the ship's hull that provides an inlet reservoir for cooling the vessel's engines and systems. Upon searching, the police and divers discovered 48 tablets, totaling approximately 75.5 kilograms of cocaine hidden in the said compartment. The drugs were seized by the police. Authorities are investigating the incident, and so far, no arrests have been made. Good news, the Manila Economic and Cultural Office announced that Taiwan immigration authorities now allow foreign workers to apply for multiple entry visas to re-enter the territory, a move that benefits thousands of overseas Filipino workers. Valdivina Gracia reports.
Around 200,000 OFWs will benefit from the new policy issued by the Taiwan government. Initially, foreign workers covered by Taiwan Employment Service Act were not eligible to apply for multiple re-entry permits. However, regulations were revised to consider the rights of foreign workers. According to Manila Economic and Cultural Office Chairman Sylvester Bello III, Director David Desdeca of the Migrant Workers Office in Kaohsiung said, the new guidelines would ease the burden on OFWs, such as saving time and expenses in processing travel documents to Taiwan. For the multiple entry visa to re-enter Taiwan, OFWs planning a vacation are advised to inform their Taiwan manpower agencies at least 3 weeks before the scheduled departure. This allows sufficient time to replace their ROC resident certificate, proving their eligibility for the multiple re-entry visa. The re-entry permit can be used multiple times, and its validity should not exceed the ARC's validity period. NECO also emphasized that if the work permit is cancelled, then the re-entry permit is considered cancelled as well. DMW Director Dican reminded OFWs to strictly adhere to the specified return time to Taiwan. Prolonging the vacation may result in absence without leave and could cancel their work permit or ARC, hindering their re-entry to Taiwan. The new regulations amend some provisions of Taiwan's immigration regulations for the stay and residence of foreigners. OFW Party List Representative Marisa Del Mar Magsino welcomes the immigration authorities' easing for our fellow Filipinos re-entering the area.
Naliligayahan ako dahil sa na-shortcut na at nabawasan ang paghihirap ng ating mga OFWs para lang magkaroon ng kanilang visa, especially yung working visa nila. At ganun din, syempre, pag matagal na yung working visa nila, para na rin yung multiple entry, diba? Na hindi na nila kailang gumastos ng gumastos, magpagod pa. It's a very welcome news para sa lahat at alam naman natin na maraming umaasa sa mga kababayan at OFWs natin na nandito sa Taiwan.
Meanwhile, President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. congratulated Taiwan's duly elected President Lai Ching-te. According to the Department of Foreign Affairs, President Marcos' congratulatory message is a way of expressing gratitude to Taiwan for hosting almost 200,000 OFWs and conducting a successful democratic process. The Philippines and Taiwan share mutual interests, which include the welfare of nearly 200,000 OFWs in Taiwan. Marcos congratulating the new president was his way of thanking Taiwan for hosting OFWs and holding a successful democratic election held last Saturday. Still, the Philippines reaffirms its One China policy. The DFA emphasized that the Philippines adheres to the One China policy, recognizing the People's Republic of China as the sole government of China. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, this is Valdivina Gracia, SMNI News.
Former President of the United States Donald Trump scored a major election victory after sweeping the Iowa caucuses, Ruth Hamilton reports.
Former President Donald Trump took a step closer to securing his third consecutive nomination for the Republican Party after receiving over 50% of the popular vote in the Iowa caucus. Trump gained 20 delegates, 3 times more than the next presidential aspirant, Governor of Florida Ron DeSantis, who had over 20% of the popular vote and gained 8 delegates. Trump addressed his supporters, thanking them for following his landslide win over his Republican rivals.
I just want to thank you all. This is a very special night, and this is the first because the big night is going to be in November when we take back our country, and truly we do make our country great again. Thank you very much, everybody.
He also thanked the state of Iowa on his social media platform, Truth Social. Despite facing legal woes, Trump remains to be the front-runner among other Republican politicians. Trump claimed a runaway victory, securing 51% of the vote, while Florida Governor Ron DeSantis came in a distant second at 21.2%. Despite strong polling earlier in the month, former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley lost out to her Florida rival with 19.1%. Following the vote, entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy, who gained 7.7%, dropped out of the race and endorsed Trump.
As of this moment, we are going to suspend this presidential campaign. And this is going to have to be, there's no path for me to be the next president absent things that we don't want to see happen in this country. And I think that I am very worried for our country. I think we are skating on thin ice as a nation. Tonight I called Donald Trump to tell him that I congratulate him on his victory, and now going forward he will have my full endorsement for the presidency, and I think we're going to do the right thing for this country.
DeSantis, on the other hand, claimed that the media was against him.
They threw everything but the kitchen sink at us. They spent almost $50 million attacking us. No one's faced that much all the way just through Iowa. The media was against us. They were writing our obituary months ago. They even called the election before people even got a chance to vote.
Meanwhile, during his address, Trump called for Republicans and Democrats alike to come together and strengthen out the world to end the death and destruction in Ukraine and Gaza. The former president of the United States also claimed that the conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East should have never happened and vowed to get them solved very fast.
We want peace through strength. Russia would have never attacked Ukraine, would have never done it. Putin and I get along fine. We get along very well. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. The fake news, which if the fake news would become real and honest news, 90% of our problems in this country would be solved. I know President Putin very well. I know Zelensky very well. I'm going to get him in. We're going to get it solved very quickly. Should have never happened.
Trump, the only U.S. president to face criminal charges, to which he strongly denies, has a huge lead over party rivals in the polls, although he has skipped all 5 Republican debates. This is Ruth Hamilton, SMNI News.
Abandoning the long-time goal for reunification, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is calling for a constitutional change and a recognition of South Korea as a hostile state. In his speech to the Supreme People's Assembly, Kim stated that he no longer believes unification is possible and accused South Korea of attempting regime change. According to North Korean state media, Pyongyang will close 3 agencies overseeing unification and inter-Korean tourism. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol immediately condemned Pyongyang's statement as anti-national. Yoon also criticized North Korea's recent missile launch and live-fire exercises near its maritime border. Meanwhile, the COP29's organizing committee has drawn criticism for having no female members. More of this report from Chak Corbo.
This year, the Global Climate Change Summit, which will take place in Azerbaijan in December, will be organized by 28 members, all being men. The committee is tasked with preparing and implementing an action plan related to the organization and conduct of the summit. She Changes Climate Campaign Group called the decision of the host country's president, Ilham Aliyev, regressive, with a statement from the group saying climate change affects the whole world, not half of it. This is in contrast to the 68% female membership of the COP28's organizing committee, which took place last year. To note, Azerbaijan, a highly fossil fuel-dependent state, is the 3rd petro-state in a row to host the said climate talks after the United Arab Emirates in 2023 and Egypt in 2022. Reporting, this is Chak Corbo, SMNI News.
The new year has barely started, but Dubai is already turning heads after it was recently named the #1 global destination in 2024. Jean Domingo reports.
TripAdvisor once again awarded Dubai the coveted #1 global destination ranking for its yearly Traveler's Choice Best of the Best Destinations Awards. TripAdvisor, touted as the world's largest travel guidance platform, has recognized Dubai for the 3rd consecutive year. This year's winners were selected based exclusively on the reviews of millions of global travelers in the TripAdvisor community. The quality and quantity of consumer reviews on hotels, restaurants, and experiences were a huge factor. The international recognition was a remarkable milestone for Dubai after it became the only city to have won this Consumer Choice Award for 3 years in a row. Under Dubai's economic agenda, the city aims to double the size of its economy by 2033 and make it one of the top 3 cities for living, investing, and working. Moreover, Emirati leaders aim to create a 20-minute city and double its population to about 7.8 million by 2040. The award was the latest addition to the list of international awards the bustling Gulf city has received, including being named the #1 city in the world to relocate in 2023. Reporting, this has been Jean Domingo, SMNI News.
The Department of National Defense has announced its intention to implement stricter operational security measures to address the digital security concerns of the Philippines. This report from Almar Forzuelo.
National Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro Jr. attended a two-day conference called Fortifying Cyber Cooperation Towards Digital Security. The event, organized by the Strat-based ADR Institute in collaboration with the Embassy of Canada, took place on Tuesday. The conference brought together stakeholders in cybersecurity in the Philippines, including the international community, to discuss issues and seek solutions to cyber threats. Following the meeting, Secretary Teodoro revealed plans to implement changes towards stricter operational security. This includes exploring ways to enhance the cybersecurity infrastructure in the country. Aside from addressing the vulnerability of the Philippines when it comes to cybersecurity, Teodoro mentioned that the Defense Department will make changes in individual security, facility security, digital hygiene, and the overall architecture of the system. The Defense Secretary emphasized that national security is a significant concern, prompting the Philippine government to establish standards, policies, and regulations to prevent abuse. He encouraged institutions to intensify research and development efforts in line with the directives of President Bongbong Marcos. Teodoro also urged the efficient utilization of the Philippines' potential to generate more jobs for Filipinos. While acknowledging the current limitations of the Philippines in cybersecurity, the Secretary stated that the country is ready to collaborate with other nations and establish frameworks for digital security. For God and my beloved Philippines, Almar Forsualo, SMNI News.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the message of the appointed Son of God. There is no reason for me to be weak in life's battles. The Father's goodness and love are so endless that He even made a way for the salvation of my soul. I put my trust in Him. And that's all for this edition. For more updates, you may visit smninewschannel.com or follow us on our official social media accounts on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Thank you for watching, and we thank our beloved Pastor Apollo Sikibuloy, for the opportunity to be a part of this program. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Sarah Santos, and this is Newsline World.